First, nowhere in the under-referenced IMF reports is GoldBod accused by the IMF as having caused the losses reported to have been incurred by the Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program.
Anyway, the IMF says that, quote, in 2025, the significant scaling up of the domestic gold purchasing program operations led to losses of $1.67 billion, 1.5% of GDP, almost entirely related to the gold for reserve dot purchase. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of the dog gold sold by BOG. On whose behalf? GoldBod. This is here. It's here.
Therefore, before we started this conversation, as I said, I never question GoldBod. You can't say GoldBod.
The sole institution Parliament mandated to buy, sell, weigh, grade, assay, value, and export our gold.
It is out there on our Afenyo market. Kayana, which means I go online, baby. I have a GoldBod to make it. GoldBod pay any wood to me to talk good. I export to Ghana. It is a mesra one am contrast to talk good. Honorable Sammy Gyamfi wa obey them. Eti at the end of this conversation we in abaye and only about the can one MCCA IMF and a day in a report by concerning GoldBod Jumedi Bank of Ghana and GoldBod Jumedi, but said the young from so ever in semi cosmutin Yankoti the honorable Afenyo marking a kind about IMF reporter edit all these conversations about.
This is a summary of the IMF report. After the bulky reports, they came out with this, which is the selected issues dated August 2026. International Monetary Fund, IMF country report number 26/213. Those who are doing fact check. And it says, International Monetary Fund, Washington, D.C. The latest IMF report, which is the IMF's sixth and final review of Ghana's extended credit facility program, completed on 10th of July 2026, concerning the financial consequences of the NDC government's domestic gold purchase program. According to the IMF, this domestic exchange program, which the Bank of Ghana accumulated gold and intermediated foreign exchange to the private sector, generated, for emphasis, $1.7 billion, which is the equivalent of 22 billion in 2025 alone. So you are looking at approximately 1.5% of Ghana's entire gross domestic product. And again, we are not ignorant. We are not speculating. We are not a manufacturing allegation. It is not partisan interpretation. It is the finding reported by the IMF after examining Ghana's economic and financial program, and it demands honest answers.
Honorable Afenyo market to drop pay the Kai GoldBod Maboka pay. And Sammy Gyamfi said that be on Tiasie. It is a response, Honorable Sammy Gyamfi, at the math Afenyo market. I reply Afenyo, and so the brain.
I challenge Afenyo market to point to any page, paragraph, sentence, phrase, or punctuation mark in the said reference reports of the IMF where the GoldBod was accused by the IMF as the entity responsible for losses incurred by the Bank of Ghana. In summary, ladies and gentlemen, what the IMF report states is that Bank of Ghana incurred losses through the sale of gold under its domestic gold purchase program of $400 million in the year 2024 and $1.7 billion in the year 2025. And that the 2025 loss of $1.7 billion was as a result of I'm quoting the IMF verbatim, the scaling up of the domestic gold purchase program, not incompetence or mismanagement. According to the IMF, that loss was as a result of the scaling up, the expansion of the program.
Anyway, the IMF says that, quote, in 2025, the significant scaling up of the domestic gold purchasing program operations led to losses of 1.67 billion US dollars, 1.5% of GDP, almost entirely related to the gold for reserve dot purchase. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of the dog gold sold by BOG. On whose behalf? GoldBod. This is here. It's here. Those who are thinking that the GoldBod has not incurred any losses because they decided to use Bank of Ghana as its alter ego. When I say alter ego, what I mean is that you use another institution to carry all your burdens on your behalf. So you appear clean. So you can conveniently say that the Auditor General has gone through your books and you do not have losses. But the losses were incurred by you. So how can you record profit and the cost is not incurred by you? Who does this?
Now, with these GoldBod conversations, there are some questions that minority are raising, and it's very important. The person who could teach our questions, near her response, GoldBod CEO, and so they buy concerning the questions a minority beside.
The IMF has already told the country where this loss comes from. In its own words, the losses, quote, are a combination of service and asset fees paid to GoldBod, discount on gold sold to off-takers, into bracket exporters, and most importantly, exchange rate losses from the spread between Forex Bureau rate paid to purchase gold and the city reference rate used for BOG accounting, end quote. This can be found in paragraph 13 of the IMF report. This is not our characterization. That is the IMF's. And those involved in fact check can check. So here is a question GoldBod must answer. If every one of those service fees and asset fees were collected and kept, why should the losses that came bundled with earning them belong to someone else? You do not get to keep the fees and disown the costs. This is not accounting. That is convenience. And who exactly are these off-takers GoldBod sold discounted gold to? The country deserves an answer. GoldBod is happy to take credit for the foreign exchange it claims to have generated, but it goes quiet the moment we ask about the very trade, the discounted sales, the fee arrangement that produced that forex in the first place. You cannot claim the upside of a trade and disown its downside.
In particularizing what the IMF considers to be components of this loss, the IMF listed three things, which included fees paid to the GoldBod under the domestic gold purchase program. This is the true context within which the name of the GoldBod featured relative to losses under the DGPP in that reference IMF reports. So I want to read the relevant portions of that report, because most of the times they come in the media and they say the IMF has said that GoldBod has made a loss of 1.7 billion, and nobody questions them to point out which part of the IMF report said that. They say that the IMF says that GoldBod is the reason for the loss, and nobody questions them to provide the proof. And we are all talking about IMF report, IMF report. The fact checkers must get to work. What does this IMF report say? Now, let's first of all start with the seat review on the ECF, that report published by the IMF just a few weeks ago. And the provision in that report on domestic gold purchase program can be found on page 27, paragraph 50. This is what the IMF said. The domestic good purchase program weighed on the financial sustainability of the BOG. The DGPP, which is the short form of domestic good purchase program, on which the BOG relied to accumulate reserves to intermediate FX to the private sector, has generated losses of 22 billion, which is 1.5% of GDP in 2025. A government cost-sharing agreement at end 2025 involving the transfer of bonds with a par value of 5 billion cedis in March 2026 resulted in the breach of the ceiling on BOG claims on the central government and public entities at the end of December 2025 and end March 2026. In July 2026, the BOG GoldBod and the government signed a memorandum of understanding formalizing the transfer of the domestic good purchase program activities from the BOG to GoldBod and eliminating related BOG quasi-fiscal risk. An external auditing firm is conducting a special audit of the domestic good purchase program from its inception, and the inception is 2021, whose results should be available in 2026 Q3. Domestic good purchase program related losses coupled with high cost of OP market operations and exchange rate valuation losses resulting from CD appreciation worsened the BOG's negative equity position to 6.7% of GDP. This is all they said about domestic good purchase program. Nowhere in this report is GoldBod accused as having caused any loss incurred by Bank of Ghana.
The Afenyo can be bribino. And if every brilliant tenacino, so tenacia. She say a canaban and GoldBod to make you so. Sana honorable Sammy Gyamfi so admit here. Say you almost to make tea. Not a normal bokan, but say who ye be near the cabin, say the wawa bocano. Aha, we be na said the cabin, say the wawa bocano. Say a kaya IMF I indicating. In so bene the Bebregana, in good Afenyo marking.
Now look at what this bleeding has done to our central bank. By the fund's own numbers, the Bank of Ghana's equity stood at negative 93.8 billion cedis at the end of last year, negative 6.7% of GDP. Our central bank is technically bankrupt, therefore, and the single biggest driver of that collapse in the 2025 was gold operations, GoldBod. GoldBod's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the 1.7 billion US dollars in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses. They are not a difficult market. They expose the crass incompetence of GoldBod's management and misaligned policy of the government. No serious institution loses this much money by accident. This is what happens when an untouchable few are handed the nation's gold with no one watching and no one willing to ask questions. Ghanaians have already sacrificed much to keep this economy standing. We tighten our belt for the sake of stability. That is why it is so painful to watch this scheme quietly give away sums that will make any right-thinking citizens weep. We did not endure hardship so that billions could vanish into unexplained spread and unnamed off-takers. Let us be honest about what $1.7 billion actually means. It is hospitals that will not be built. It is needless maternal death that would not be prevented because the theaters, the blood banks, and the trained hands that could have saved a mother in labor were never funded. It is schools that will not be built. It is poor roads that will not be constructed. Roads that claim life every week. It is water treatment facilities that will not be constructed, even as our people's water is poisoned by galamsey this government has failed to control. Every one of these is Ghanaian life diminished by a loss that is not have to happen.
Okay, conversations here, Ekosi, Yemoka, Yaboka. It started way back in Parliament. Honorable Kojo Ponkroma crack and once. The person you see Kojo Ponkroma, they all kind about this GoldBod initiative. They beat me, they are bregan and faswa the beba, or how I gonna beat me a kuma. Parliament, I'm funny serious, and Koti.
One of our largest foreign exchange earners, about $11 billion, 57% of our exports for the year 2024. And if we are making such major legislation that affects the infrastructure of trading in gold, our pleasure would have been that we spend some time and do some more consultations, engage various actors, National House of Chiefs, many other actors, before we proceed with this legislation. Mr. Speaker, be that as it may, we are clear in our minds. We don't have the numbers to even halt this or stop this. But what we are doing is that we are proposing a number of amendments to help mitigate the risk in what we think government is doing. Because if you look at the objectives of government, you want to increase foreign exchange reserves, you want to improve gold exports, you want to improve or grow our gold reserves itself and curb smuggling. Mr. Speaker, within the current ecosystem, we have enough institutions to do that. Between the Minerals Income Investment Fund and PMMC as is and the Bank of Ghana, there are enough institutions to do that. We don't need to create a new institution, the GoldBod, to be able to do this. Because these new institutions have a way of creating new layers of bureaucracy, rent-seeking behavior, inefficiencies in and of themselves. And we would have preferred that the old institutions would be strengthened to do this job. The Minerals Commission has a lot of powers when it comes to granting licenses for exports, etc. We don't need to create a new institution. But if we are doing, Mr. Speaker, one of our proposals would be that we create an institution that will do the regulatory functions and then a limited liability company that will do the commercial functions. Because the PMMC under PNDC Law 819 was a public corporation, and later after the Justice Crabb report, it was turned into a limited liability company for financial efficiency. But today, with what you are creating, you are going back to creating a public corporation. What does it mean? It means you are giving them $279 million, but it's not capital. They will not be required to make profit and pay dividends to the government.
I was sorry. As also the two President John Dramani Mahama and him say, on also some funny 9C from no need deeper investigations on the GoldBod, the customer. And it's true, we all support say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama so then an ABC form. Now wako near hun media koso GoldBod, say kaba, say kamae, say the omokane no cre, say no cre. Honorable Sasari say, President John Dramani Mahama enter committee na on functions and on deal with this issue.
President Mahama, we are asking you to call for proper and further investigations into what is happening at GoldBod. I am temporarily relieved that at least Bank of Ghana from 1st of July 2026 is no more spending on GoldBod as it used to be. So, President Mahama, somewhere last year, you engaged the SOEs, and then you mentioned that SOEs that are not making profit or SOEs that are not thriving, you either close them down or you merge them. So we want you to walk the talk. Look into GoldBod. Look into the losses that they have incurred so far and see how best you can salvage the situation. We want you to walk the talk and help save the little resources that we have. Already, you've introduced more than 8 new taxes and it's still not yielding the revenue numbers that you want. So if there's an opportunity to save some money and use it in other equally important places, we are all for it. And we ask that you do say.
Nipa oye mobile this issue we are rough. Yamfani say politicians me, and enya banter no menya no. Yes, in the interest of ordinary Ghanaians, the Ghana need bia tax na utua no. Ye misusing it na ama this conversation in a course. yen kebi shi mi han say Rafaba abeto amane Honorable Afenyo Makin. So Honorable Afenyo Makin wejimi. Sane ma we won entertain yen so or pe film yen so that because even Honorable Sammy Gyamfi cannot insult Honorable Afenyo Makin. But well, here for money there's a way nitia in a cacredia not to name casa.
Afenyo Makin, the way no and that where you are no. Na se pay who now good di any abofra be and waka the initial canton. The woo no and won't be a who's a woo yale. So be a cancer now. Film so called. The Omani year Canadian Japan, a bit is Afenyo Makin starting. Yeah, the need Jimmy sa a baby at your boss of my cat. Oh, that be what you Jimmy on answer. Don't you find me be Sabian on the yellow. Canada Japan, Diom, no, yet, and the one who be brave. Inti, fancy never, Tuado, Tuado, now I'll call the club and I go down. Yeah, last way, why to boo, why tell you, aye, no, your mood, Jimmy, and maybe in the feast and the Yablabo. This is what a man about no say or entrepreneur and about this angle. Nicola, we live a honour. Never to yet now 1 month, never be better to yet we live 1 month. As your former general mine papa, near to mine papa no, Mobile challenge your position in your first sitting government and your papa, Musumunop and Kabai now, come on challenge say, you buy a XYZ, a Uko Ebia Crow, a Bisu, into Musum may be near Nanka Ghana for Jasso, in the NDP, Casabiam say, hey, 2028 when we win the election. I am asking Afenyo Makin the question. And then Oma and Noma and son, Ghana for a Jimmy Baby, the best agent so they are to about MPP in there, so I'm power. If any corruption, Oma and Noma and son.